another episode of Beating Alpha. This is episode 110, and we have a very special guest on. Her name is Lizzy Neutz. Lizzy has co-created two businesses and two different meetup groups. Her main focus is multifamily real estate investing. They primarily focus on syndication and target markets close to her home, which is Louisville, Kentucky. Anybody from here watching, make sure to get in contact with Lizzy. Lizzy brings her youthful energy and love for talking, as you're going to find out, to build the necessary connections to make their business work. Her first local meetup group, a women's entrepreneur group, has well over 250 women and is constantly adding massive value at her events. She thinks big, loves building relationships and being an inspiration to those around her. And of course, for more details and more information, Instagram, Lizzy Neutz, and there is a website called adventequitypartners.com. And of course, all these links and more, everything is going to be down below for you to follow. So Lizzy, I just want to say a big thank you for joining me today on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So happy to connect and happy to make this episode happen. So, okay, so where do we start? Maybe we start with your kind of personal background, because I've seen like you do, like if you just go through basically instead of me explaining what you do. So what is your background and how did you get involved with the real estate business?
Yeah, so actually for 1 year, I'm from Louisville, but I had moved out to Salt Lake City, Utah for about a year. And I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't know what that was at that time. So I kind of put my feet in the water in the e-commerce space, and turns out it wasn't for me, which is okay. You know, I'm glad I had that experience. But shortly after, I actually had a friend on Instagram who was doing real estate wholesaling, to be specific. And I had reached out and just kind of asked him what he was doing, and learned a little bit more. And then ironically, my partner, who's also my boyfriend, he had saw somebody post in some group, I can't remember what it was. Somebody in Salt Lake was looking for newbie wholesalers and they would help. So that's kind of how we got started in real estate, was wholesaling, really doing creative financing out in Utah. And then we kind of spread our wings, moved back to Louisville, and was doing wholesaling full time here. And that was in, I guess, October of 2019. And here we are, still doing a little bit of single family wholesaling, but mainly focusing on multifamily and acquiring multifamily properties.
Okay. So I'm just looking at the team. So I'm sure you made a great team, because I would love to talk about that, how you and Chase kind of, go through the process of building the business, because I think this kind of your personal journey and advice will be valuable for couples, because I'm sure there's a few people who are watching and they kind of building this real estate business or whatever, maybe it's a different business as a couple.
Yep.
So how do you go through, like the daily struggles, the like goal setting things, the finances, like what is the secret sauce behind you, building this business?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's definitely difficult. And it's ironic that you say, about goal setting, because yesterday I'm actually part of a woman's kind of small group. We meet up in the mornings and we were doing goals together. And so last night I was like, Chase, for the business portion, obviously I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page. And so I just think communication in a relationship in general, and then in a business, is so important to make sure that you guys are on the same page. And there's definitely been times where Chase and I weren't on the same page, and it was super frustrating, but just kind of talking it out and figuring out what that other person wants and seeing their side, just as you would in a relationship. That's super important. And then I would also say just finding time outside of your business for your relationship, because your relationship should come first, as anybody's relationship, whether you're in a business with that person or not.
Got it. And that's a good advice. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Again, thing that I wanted to find out, kind of, because as I mentioned prior to the interview before we started, like I don't have a clue what's happening in the U.S. market overall. Well, I kind of know you know, a little bit, because again, we do these daily shows and get the insights from all these syndicators and real estate investors. But like Louisville, Kentucky, like I never heard, like, well, at least personally in a few months about the market. So maybe you can explain to the people that are watching, like the differences between Kentucky and the rest of the kind of Southeast, Southwest markets that, you know, syndicators are investing in.
Yeah. So we actually invest in Tennessee markets, Chattanooga and Knoxville, as well as Huntsville, Alabama. And to be honest, they're all kind of similar. When I say similar, they're just smaller growing markets. Louisville's not is not growing as much as I would say Huntsville, but it's still a smaller market in the Midwest that's not as saturated as Indianapolis or Columbus. Or I guess that's kind of more the Southeast, but the Midwest is like Indianapolis and Columbus. But are you wanting to know like how the market's doing, as like how hot the market is?
Yeah, just maybe the like demographics and maybe the kind of the key criteria that you're picking, you know, in the market, because like kind of the follow-up question would be like, have you ever thought about investing out of state? Because you still you still kind of looking in Louisville, right? You're not planning to invest in out of state.
Yeah, so we're actively looking to invest in the markets that I just said, in Tennessee, Alabama, and then Kentucky. And the reason that we picked those states, obviously we're in Louisville, it's our backyard. I know Louisville really well, but I also have family down in Chattanooga. I've been there multiple times, and Chattanooga is a similar market to Louisville and as Knoxville and Huntsville, kind of like I said before. But what we're really looking for is just value add properties. I just see that there's not as many investors now there. Trust me, there's tons of investors that are still coming to these markets. But it's just, like I said, not as saturated as the Indianapolis and Columbus type market.
Okay.
Or Atlanta, for that matter.
Or the rest of the Southeast, Southwest country, you know, states. Yeah. Okay.
Nashville. Yep.
So, I mean, if you're born and raised in the market, like you're born and raised in Kentucky, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so kind of you probably know the market inside out, and that's probably one of the reasons, again, that you're planning to stay in. So you know, or maybe look in different markets or whatever, you know, because again, at this current time, like there's people like and operators walking with the equity. I mean, they have the cash, they're liquid, but it's maybe harder to find the deal. So I do understand the ways that you're going to be looking to invest in some other states if something will come up that meets your kind of criteria. So maybe we can talk about the criteria, you know, because you mentioned like a value add type of property. So if you go maybe more into specifics, like what type of deals are you looking for?
Yeah, so we're really looking for anything in between 20 to 200 units. Obviously not obviously, but we're looking to stay under 20 million. We're looking for value add properties, and we're just looking for properties that aren't in necessarily D-class areas. And we're really looking for cash flow. If the property doesn't cash flow day one, it just doesn't work for us, especially in the climate that we're in, where there could be a potential downturn in the market. There's just so much speculation. People aren't being able to evict. Unemployment's pretty low. It's just, we're trying to play it safe. And so we are running our numbers also a little bit more conservative, and it's definitely tough. I mean, we've come across deals where we were barely under asking and someone had offered asking or more, and we couldn't come up because we're offering what we can get our investors, you know, their returns on, and us our returns.
Okay, got it. So again, for the people who are coming across like this, you know, kind of investing strategy, you know, as a multifamily syndication strategy, can you give a kind of, you know, 10,000 feet view for the people who never heard about what syndication is?
Yeah, so syndication is first off, syndication is going to be with properties that are bigger. So we typically like to syndicate properties that are 75 units or more. There's just a lot of paperwork and things like that to involve. And also you're bringing in investors. So you're bringing in these investors that are going to hold the equity of the deal. You're bringing in money investors, as you should call them. They're LPs. And so for me, I am bringing the deal to the table. I'm part of the GP team, and so our general partner. And so I'm getting, I'm also going to bring other people, I guess, to the table for the GP team that are going to create part of the percentage of the deal. And then the money investors get a part of the deal. It's kind of confusing. And I'm probably not explaining it as best as somebody else could. That's just kind of how I see it, is that we are bringing this deal to the table. We will also be doing the asset management. We will need to bring somebody that can sign on the loan, and then we bring the investors.
Yeah.
So that's really what a syndication is.
Got it. So it definitely makes sense. And what makes even sense even more, that you have the right advisors on your board. Like, I'm just looking at names, and I'm sure like Radcliffe, Garrison, Gilbert, and Robert, Rich and Taller. I mean, those type of people, and the names probably people are familiar with. And that's one of the keys in the business, is to, you know, for the people to kind of trust you, is to know that you're playing with, you know, or having partners on the side that are, you know, they have the track record and the insight and the knowledge. So, but, you know, like what you explained is exactly on point. Like, so what would you take, like, for somebody who's watching and they're looking to invest? Because I mean, you probably came across a few people during these times, you know, the COVID times. So if you're still watching this interview, that's where, when we recorded, there's a lot of people looking to, you know, invest somewhere, but again, maybe stock market is not an option. So, but it's different terms when you're investing in the stock market. So what does it take for somebody to invest in syndication deal?
It just depends. So obviously you need to know somebody that's in real estate, to where, you know, you're understanding what they're doing. I think that's super important when investing, and even investing in the stock market. You need to know what you're investing in. And if you're just new to it, I would just ask as many questions as I could to really, like I said, understand what you're getting into. Now, it is definitely, I would say, a safer bet than the stock market, especially right now. But it just depends on who you're talking to that in a syndication, because people offer different things and offer different returns for your investment.
Yep. Okay. So one of the things, I love the fact, again, that you grew the network. And I guess a lot of people who are watching, they would like to kind of find the source, the key sauce, you know, for the, like, how you been able to build the kind of this meetup, 250 women, you know, and growing constantly. So can you go like through the process, how you able to accomplish these type of numbers?
Yeah, so I started my women's group back in December of 2019. And to be honest, I had only 10 people at my first event. It wasn't like a show out the first time that I ever did it. And then my second event, you know, I was really thinking, what is it going to be? What do people want? I thought my first one, I had it super planned out and it was going to be great, but I wasn't really thinking of what these women want. And these women want to come together. They want to hear from people who are doing amazing in their business, if not better, and just very successful people. So something that I really wanted to incorporate was, for one, I wanted to make sure that there was time for networking with people that are in your similar business. And I also had everybody introduce themselves. I don't think that everybody gets to do that, but everybody got to introduce themselves and tell everybody what they do. So if someone wanted to connect afterwards. And then the third is just finding a great speaker and someone who represents your brand. And that's really all I did. The marketing was completely the same. I did have a new logo made, which also is great to kind of gather people in from Facebook or meetup.com. You know, you want to look well put together as an event. And I'm sure you know that as well, as you do social media marketing, but you want to look well put together and just have a good description. And that's really all I did. There was no secret sauce, really, you know, anything. I was just, there was a space for it in Louisville, and I'm so grateful that these women came out and supported me.
Beautiful. Again, so congratulations on that. You know, it's quite an achievement, because at the same time, like, it's very smart, like what you're doing. And I like your approach, because at the same time, you're growing the network where actually all the members can leverage kind of each other and the experience and the knowledge, and you know, they can benefit kind of from each other. And at the same time, you're growing kind of, you know, this investor base, which I'm sure, you know, you build some great connections and relationships with some of the women that probably are potentially going to be investors in first deals, you know? So
Absolutely.
So that's really cool.
Absolutely.
So like, what is the strategy? Because again, one of the things that you mentioned that thinking big, like everybody kind of talks about that. So how do you actually go to the level, like when you, like you said, you kind of build this e-commerce business and it was like, I don't think it's going to work out. And now you're moving to
Mm-hmm.
real estate industry, which actually what you say is like, it requires for somebody to think different and think big, because we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
millions of dollars that going to be
Oh yeah.
raising and, putting on the line. So like, can you talk about the education piece in the business and like how
Mm-hmm.
did you educate yourself in the beginning stages?
Yeah, education is one of the most important things. And actually, when we moved into the multifamily space, we hired a coach right away. We talked about maybe trying it out on our own, but like you said, in real estate, you're dealing with multi-million dollars. We didn't want to get into something where we had no idea what we were doing. And the fastest way for us to get where we wanted was to hire a coach and hire a reputable coach at that. And that's, like you said, it's the most important thing. Education. You should always educate yourself. And I'm just super happy that we got into the program when we did. It's been amazing. We've built out our network, and I can't be more thankful for that.
Got it. So you want to give a shout out? I mean, who's the coach that you have currently?
Rod Cleef. He's
Rod Cleef.
amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned him on, he's amazing. If you ever are interested in hiring a coach, definitely reach out to him and his team.
Yeah. And Rod Cleef, if you're watching, we need to make that podcast episode happen. So make sure to reply back to the messages, please. So so he's definitely amazing. And, you're having the right people again on your side, which is going to give you the leverage to, knowledge and the connections and probably the finance and the deal flow. So kind of talking about the deal flow and like, what do you have currently in the pipeline? Can you talk about the deals that you're actually like looking at, and what you're planning to close on until the end of this year, if you're planning to do that?
Yeah, so we're just actively looking at deals. We submitted an LOI up in, I guess, northern Kentucky, close to Cincinnati. And that one's still kind of, we're still going back and forth. So we'll see about that. And I'm constantly reaching out to brokers, property managers. We're going direct to seller. So we're really trying to, and Chase and I talked about this last night, ironically, is we're trying to get 200 units by the end of the year under contract. That's, we foresee that that's an achievable thing for us. We have been working so hard, and we know that it's time for us to be able to achieve that goal.
Got it. Well, it's definitely doable. And, like you have the right people on the board, you have the right partners. So
absolutely,
it's just a matter of time. So I'm sure you will do that. So can you talk about maybe, the current strategy that you use to kind of to source the deals? I'm sure part of it's involved with the brokers and building the broker relationships. But have you came across, or maybe you're using personally, some maybe more creative strategies to source deals?
Yeah. So like you said, obviously I am going and talking with brokers. I think a key piece with that is getting in front of a broker, like actually meeting face to face. I know in COVID, it's a little bit harder to do that, but I found that to be a game changer for me, is actually going and talking to them. And then, like I said, we do reach out to property managers as well and try to build that relationship. And we also go direct to sellers. So it's kind of similar to what we were doing in single family, where we are pretty much cold calling, getting out on the phones and talking with people and, seeing if anyone's interested in selling and seeing how we can make a deal work that way.
Okay. Got it. So kind of would be a little bit of an esoteric question for you, but I do understand part of it is like everybody does the business because they want to keep the lights on and they want to get paid. And at the same time, like multifamily syndication business, you helping other people by them investing passively to kind of protect and grow their wealth, which it does make sense. Like, but what will be kind of if we're going to go to the core, and maybe it's too early for you in a cycle to kind of ask me that question. But what is the legacy that you're looking to leave behind you?
We're just trying to help as many people really get as much money as possible. We want to have our investors make as much money with us as possible, bring value to others, even if they're outside of real estate. Just bring value, just touch everybody with our knowledge and just help them. That's really our biggest thing, and what we strive is just being able to add value, or being able to give or bring in as many people in and get them paid just as much as us.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Good. So, okay. So kind of almost the last question is, you have the
Okay.
website, which is, again, let me just go back to the website, adventequitypartners.com, where you can find more
Yes.
information about, what they're currently doing, what the partners they're working with, the future deals. I mean, you will see everything that you're going to be looking for and more on the website. Again, there is an
Okay.
Instagram for you people. You can go and connect kind of on a personal level with Lizzy too. So is there more to it? I mean, do you have other kind of social media platforms for you people to get in contact, or that's it? Those are the main ones.
Yeah. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn too, but I don't really do a whole lot on LinkedIn. I probably need to do a little bit more. And I'm somewhat active on Facebook, but definitely Instagram. I feel like Instagram's such a my generation type of social media platform. So I'm definitely on there the most. But that's about it.
Here you go. And can you give us a little bit of sneak peek? Because before the interview, you mentioned kind of that you're planning to put something out for the kind of similar of what we're doing currently.
For my podcast
Yeah.
that I'm looking to put up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with my women's group, I am actually looking to put out a podcast interviewing other female entrepreneurs. I think it's just super important that we highlight these women, just because I'm one myself, and it's just a lot harder to come by, I feel, and I feel like we can just relate to each other. So I'm super excited to get started, and just stay tuned. It should be, I guess the ball rolling in the next month or so.
Here we go. Here we go. So make sure to follow Lizzy, to stay close to her, and make sure you're going to be the first ones to see the upcoming episodes when that's going to happen. But yeah, it's been a really interesting to talk with you and kind of to find out your personal background and the story and the reasons why you're looking to build this business. Again, it's kind of no brainer, right? Like it's
Yep.
kind of common sense. And it does make sense to get involved with this type of business. And at the same time, like, look, you're looking to help other people, and it's a beautiful thing. So I wish you nothing, just a success, and I'm sure you're gonna get it. Like 200 units done.
Yeah, we're very hopeful.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
No problem. So, guys and girls, especially girls who are watching, if you think this piece was valuable, one thing that I wanted to ask you, if you pass it along to the friend of yours who wants to start, investing in real estate, whatever that might be, actively, passively, or get inspired or learn a few strategies. This episode is definitely going to be valuable for her. So make sure to pass this episode along. Of course, get connected with Lizzy on Instagram. Start building this network. Get involved with her. Ask her, questions. How did she start, this real estate business? And I'm sure she will be very happy to answer those type of questions. So, Lizzy, again,
I will.
Thank you very much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's no problem. And guys and girls, as always, I will see you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.